of the Union Tradesman Edition. Hello, everybody. My name is Roxanne Govari with Pemberley Realty here in San Diego, California. And my guest is Austin from All Worlds Construction, and he is going to talk to us about Tradesman Edition State of the Union.
That's right.
Hello and welcome, Austin. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Fortunately, I'm not telling you the sky is falling, but at the same time, everything's not amazing. So
Okay, well, that's a very interesting open. So tell us more about that. What do you mean? What do you mean by that statement?
well, I'm basically where the deal meets the drywall dust, if you will. And what I'm seeing right now is buyers are nervous, sellers are anchored to old numbers, repair costs are shocking people, right? Because originally, so home prices went up, was it 4.8% in the past year? Let's call it, right? I looked that up before the video. And guess how much tradesman costs have gone up?
since
8%.
since
So
when? Since when?
in the past year.
In the past
So in the
year. Oh,
past
wow.
year,
Okay.
they're accelerating more than the costs of living in housing, right?
Why do you think that is?
There's several reasons. There's several reasons. We can get into it, but basically we're catching up, right? The
Hmm.
CPI, the amount of inflation, the amount of demand, skill. It's something where the market has to keep up.
Right.
It really has to keep up. Hey, Santiago, how you doing?
Hey Austin, sorry I was busy in a call, joining a little bit late, but looking forward to hearing what you got for us today.
It's all good. So we're not just
Santiago
talking
is
about rates. We're not just talking about comps, but the actual condition of the asset. Because at the end of the day, we're not just selling bedrooms in square footage. We're selling trust. We're selling confidence, and we're selling certainty, right? The old days of moving fast and getting rewarded is that's past, right?
Right.
We have to sell confidence. There's nothing that'll kill a deal faster. When people go into a house, they're not thinking, oh, I need to get into this because someone else is going to beat me to it. They're now thinking, what is this house going to do to me once I get in?
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, I love how you put it. I love how you put it. What is this house going to do to me once I get in? Well said. Well said.
So, the version that I'm presenting is like really from the crawl space, underneath the sink, from that dreaded inspection report. So the market is not dead. All right. But the easy market is dead.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So
well said.
The market where cheap money covered those bad decisions, gone. All right.
Yeah.
So the market where sellers could ignore maintenance or just ask top dollar or just slap some paint on it and get 12 hours or 12 offers is mostly gone.
Yes. Yes.
Because buyers are nervous, the sellers are stubborn, and you guys are stuck in the middle. Agents are stuck in the middle, brokers are stuck in the middle. And me, I'm walking onto these jobs with 5, 10, 15 years of deferred maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to talk about, right? Because it's not all doom and gloom, but it's reality. So, because whoever gets closest to reality is the one who's going to win.
Yeah. Which is really interesting. So Austin, give us a little bit of a background, give us a little bit of a perspective. How long have you been in the business? What have you been working on? Have you been working in San Diego the whole time? Give us a little bit of a background about yourself and your business.
All right, quick summary. When I graduated high school, construction wasn't something you did when you had your life set up. It wasn't cool, right?
Like real estate. Real estate
Right?
was not cool 25 years ago.
I graduated in 2007, going into the world as an adult in 2008. So I lived through that, working for contractors, right? So it wasn't cool. You know, it was what you did if you were up. You know what I mean? And so that was, and I hit it. And I spent 10 years in my 20s trying to be a professional triathlete. I grew up in the Bay Area. I moved to Boulder. I tried to make the Olympics, pounded my head against the wall. I didn't end up doing it. And then I'm here in San Diego. But the whole time I was doing construction, right? I think since my grandfather was a builder, it was just something that I really like to take things apart, but I also like to actually put them back together as well. So I think that kind of summarizes my life is where, you know, I felt more respected when the pandemic hit, because the tides had turned. Back in the day, people weren't asking for internships to learn what I knew, right? But that market has kind of changed, right? Because that sentiment that I talked about wasn't a boomer or Gen X sentiment. But now Gen Z, millennials are kind of that transition period. But then Gen A, they want to learn trades. They think it's cool. I'm like, do you really know what you're getting into? You know what I mean? Like, because you are tying yourself up with, you know, things that, you know, just like an agent doesn't have to deal with, like, you know, storage of all the tools, right? Mm-hmm. Working with dangerous things that can make you sick. So yeah, that's kind of my story. Bay Area, Boulder, San Diego, always hit it. I was always trying to do sports. And then I came to terms.
You came to terms.
I came to terms. I'm definitely a tradesperson, builder, you know, kind of inventor, engineer type brain.
Okay, so you came to terms with the fact that this was your path, this was your passion, this is where you're going to basically spend your talent in.
My God-given talent. That's right.
Yeah. So tell us about the projects that you have worked on. Tell us about the company that you have built.
Well, I'll just say this. I never understood why someone, when they master one trade, doesn't do another, right? It's like telling me that you don't want to get really good at putting a shirt on because you haven't mastered putting it on your pants. Like, they're related. They're a system. Yeah. You know, how they interact, right? If I'm a concrete guy, oh, you got a concrete in your driveway. But my brain, oh, why do we have a crack in the driveway? Oh, it's because we have settling underneath the slab. Oh, that's because you don't have gutters. Oh, that's because you don't have the gutters going into a drain. It's draining right there at the footing. It's soaking in the planter. Oh, that's also why all the stucco terrating 18 inches up horizontally all the way around the house, right? So I would say that my business is a general contracting business specializing in property maintenance. And I've done thousands of work orders as a technician for people. And I worked for other contractors. In high school, I would build furniture. I got a little scholarship to build furniture for advanced ag mechanics and carpentry. What cool. I've done things like went into Mendocino, learned how to, sustainably harvest redwoods called fairy rings from a YouTuber that had a compound, and that was kind of cool. I have a video on YouTube about it. Other than that, like, there's just building has brought me so many cool places. Me and my brother, we built a house in Guatemala when I was 16.
Wow.
Which is an Airbnb now.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, still listed. It's usually booked. And my grandfather, his name is Mark Hassel. He sailed around the world twice in a boat he built after crashing a couple. But if you want to check him out, that's the type of spirit that I try to embody, is my grandfather's spirit. He was definitely a pioneer. I don't know if I'm as crazy as him, because he would go to these places and teach them modern building and figure out how to bring electricity, and then, you know, import tools and help their local economy. But some people are indifferent about it. Some people don't like it, right? So, you know, it's kind of depending on what lens you're looking through, could be considered two different things.
Yeah.
I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and every character out of Harry Potter sticks into my mind, and the mean pink lady. I can think of her, and she was saying, "Progress for the sake of progress must be eliminated."
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, very interesting story, and, you know, kind of work way that you're kind of using it to you know, affect your work life now and how you're doing things. That's pretty
Yeah, I think everybody kind of falls into that eventually. You know, they try different things. They have their failed business. They're like, what should I do? They're in their room crying. What is my life becoming? And then sometimes it just starts to develop, and you're like, okay, I think this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
And building was that for me.
Oh.
That is and you know, it's interesting that you say that, because I've been in the real estate industry for 26 years, and I've always felt like contractors are so important, because they're touching our lives in so many different ways. And I never could understand why it was set up the way that you're saying, where, you know, you're becoming a contractor if you failed in something, and then you become a contractor. And a lot of the contractors that you came across, at least when I was going through, were great at their craft, but not necessarily great at running a business. And that was half the reason why you would see contractors fail, not because they didn't know what they were doing, even though there are a lot of contractors that also don't know what they're doing, but half the time they fail because they can't manage their business. And to actually see somebody from the young age and right from the get-go go into the contracting business as a very viable business that is very, very important to all of us, and, you know, provide a amazing service such as yourself. That is very admirable. So thank you for choosing that and for sticking with it.
You know, I think it really has a lot to do with something that I don't think a lot of young people are following today. And let me break that down, because there is a segment that I didn't mention where I ended up working for a big box retailer. But this big box retailer, who's going to go unnamed, did in some locations 50 to 100 oil changes a day. And we did full service automotive. And I went in there and I started as a tech, right? I considered myself a gearhead. You know, I took a broken down truck when I was 16 because my mom didn't have enough money to buy one. I fixed it up, and that was my daily driver. And I know that when I went on there, they moved me up to sales because I talked too much. But they also knew that I was good at working on cars. And I think that has a lot to do with the social environment that you grow up in. But long story short, I ended up working for this automotive service provider, and they taught me process. In the span of 3 years, I ended up managing my own store with 12 technicians and 3 salespeople. And that taught me something called a CSDS. And I only got a promotion if I wrote a business plan, if I ended up memorizing this process. And those processes is kind of like meet and greet the customer, is qualify the customer. And there's things like, and I've totally integrated that. Now I've changed the wording, I've changed some steps to make it legal, but, you know, it's like step 7. I review the work order with the customer in the middle of the job. Either it's going good or we need a change order, right? Step 12, show a customer appreciation, right? So there's different steps and tasks that need to be done. And in your head, and once you cement that in, as you're going through this what seems chaotic work order. I don't know what I'm doing when I show up to the job, when I'm looking at the job, when I'm going to the store. Each one of those has to have a process. And that's kind of where we are now. But at the same time, it's like, how much control do I want to give away? How fast do I want to scale up? And I'm in no hurry. Yeah.
Smart, very smart, because the type of service providing that you're providing that way, how reliable of a service you can provide, which is what everybody's looking for.
Right.
So you started with inflation in the construction business. Let's segue back into that.
Sure. I have a lot to say about it.
Before COVID, I can say before COVID, I was pretty good in, looking at a fixer house and saying, okay, this is X amount of dollars that's gonna cost to bring this house up to date. But I feel like after COVID, things just went upside down, and now you're saying just in 1 year we have seen a massive amount of inflation in your line of business. So tell us more about that and about the challenges that you're facing with that.
Sure. So how many times have you heard someone say, or there's so many different ways to give examples, but the number one thing that I'm seeing right now is sticker shock, right? With my clients, especially. And it's always, I'm shopping around, I'm this, I'm that. And they are, the days where you could take a 5x8 bathroom and remodel it for 10 grand, gone, right? The days where an entire stucco's the cementitious, the sand, lime, and cement around a house. For anyone that isn't familiar with it, that's basically concrete. You're putting a sidewalk on a wall, right? And the days of doing a whole house for 15 grand, gone, right? And contractors are seeing the value. They've seen the demand as well. And this is going to upset some people, but the contractors are starting to realize their value, right? They do a stucco job for, 15 grand, they're making 10% net on it. And then all of a sudden the investor or the listing agent is listing it for $100,000 more than what he thinks it would have. Everyone, and these numbers that these people are throwing around, the buyer, the seller, the agent, of how much it's going to fix, it's just pie in the sky. Where did that number come from? You know what I mean? And the number one problem that I'm seeing is they're not bringing the contractor in early enough in the deal. The first time they meet their contractor is when the deal needs to be negotiated within 14 days from the inspection report, right? And how many times has a deal gotten weird because a small issue became a big credit request? Yeah. Right? So it's slower, but it's not simple. And that's part of what happens when things get a little bit slower. And, it brings me back to people who are like, oh, well, if you're good at what you do, it's never really slow. Right. But I would argue that when it gets slow,
it's slow.
But here's the thing. we just don't go out of business. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're not good at what you're doing,
you're out of business. That's true. That is true. Yes. And that is very, it's interesting that you say that. That is very, very much valid. Although there's so many different reasons that we can go into it and how the landscape of our business and your business are changing. But you are correct in the way that you are becoming more integral to our business, because buyers are getting a lot more worried about the hidden costs of the home that they're buying into, and they're trying to be more cautious.
Let's talk about that, right? Because if buyers are more cautious, the sellers are anchored to the old numbers. But not only that, the rates have changed, so the math has completely changed. Insurance is harder, right? I have someone who wanted to list their house, but they started getting problems with insurance because of the Palisades fire, and we're in Southern California. All of a sudden, to not go to that crappy state plan and to keep their private insurance, what they needed to box in all their eaves with HardieBacker. They needed to change their gable attic vents on each side of the house in the garage with 1/8 inch minus mesh. And the wooden gates 5 feet from the house, they had to go to aluminum gates. Aluminum's not cheap.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We're talking a wooden gate you could get done for $800 if you were to do it yourself, maybe $1,800 if you were to pay somebody else. But these aluminum gates that are non-combustible to keep your insurance, eligible to keep your insurance, let's call it $5,000 per gate.
Yeah.
You know, so things are not cheap. You know, materials are still expensive, right? And good labor is tight.
Good labor is tight. Absolutely. You're right. Good labor is tight.
Yeah. I mean, so this is all true, you know, for agents, for contractors, for property managers, for sellers, everybody involved, right? Yeah. So, you know, everybody is increasing their prices because we're all getting hit from every angle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right. In a hot market, it's like you can be a little bit more sloppy, but in a tighter market,
you cannot.
Sloppy gets expensive.
Totally. You are speaking to our language. Sloppy gets expensive, and you must know what you're doing. And you know, it's a labor. It's a market of skill that we're in right now.
Yeah, and you know, that bad smell, it matters more. That GFCI that's within 36 inches of a sink that's not there, that was a standard plug, that matters more.
Yeah.
That crusty angle stop underneath the sink, that matters more, right? Like I said, it's like people are thinking sometimes, can I afford this? But like, what is it gonna do to me you know? And remember, old is not the problem. Okay. The unexpected, the uncertainty is the problem. It's a confidence issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The buyer doesn't need the house to be perfect, but they need to believe it's not lying to them.
Yeah. So the days of lipstick on the pig are also over then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
well said.
You know what I'm shocked by? I'm shocked that people still expect 2018 pricing, 2019 pricing.
Yeah.
Right. That's that. You know, and I run my numbers time and time again before I send it, and I still get these comments. And you know, it's like, you know, my close rate has gone down. Right. But when you get enough leads, and you build enough of a relationship, and you have a good reputation, you know, sometimes that ends up being, you know, a contractor who's more expensive ends up being the cheapest if he has good timing and good confidence, and he fixes it right the first time.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like another example, like a homeowner, a lot of the times, or somebody going in, they think like a little small leak underneath the sink is a lot of times a handyman issue. Let's just hire an unlicensed guy. But what happens when they open up the drywall and they see the mold, they realize the flooring and the cabinets are swollen, you know, and all of a sudden they realize that they're going to have to shut off the water to replace an angle stop. It's not just a leak underneath the sink. And so, you know, that's all insurance, you know, liability, that has a lot to do with it. You know, so like when a seller thinks that their deck just needs paint, you know, a lot of the times I'll see that the slope is wrong grading, you know, the handrail is loose. You know, they changed California code. Now handrails have to be 42 inches tall. when a lot of them are still stuck at 38 inches. Those little vertical slats that go on the stairs, kids are getting their heads stuck in them. So they opened up the gap from, 6 inches to 4 inches. Now, all of a sudden, they can't list it until the handrails are done.
Yeah.
And custom ironwork, that's not cheap.
No. Custom iron. Not to mention, iron workers were basically becoming extinct, and now we have to go, however many years that it takes to actually train new ones, because we need them, and we need them badly. We need them yesterday.
Here's the problem. The good guys are getting taken by unions or starting their own business, right? But there's not enough of them because the union's going to pay them tons of money. The government has more money than you do. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right? And so for you to take those guys, right, for me to pay them, right, I have to be beating out what's equivalent to union rate, right?
Yeah.
How many guys have I lost to city jobs and union jobs? Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they give them consistent work, better benefits, and they're paying them more.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So if I'm going to keep these good guys, I have to be charging, right?
Yeah.
The rate that a general contractor was charging before is now what that general contractor is paying to the good subcontractor.
Yeah.
And asking for the general contractor's subcontractor to go directly to him, that's like asking to date my sister. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to give you, you know what I mean? Like go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Or you can go through me. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes
I love how you put it into perspective, because this is what people need to hear. People need to know about what these issues are at. But we are at a point where we actually need to sell you now, Austin. So you are our guest, and thank you so much for joining us and for bringing up these issues, because we have to have you back again for series 2 of what you were talking about, because there's so much to be covered with what you are talking. So your company is called All World Construction.
Yes.
And they can reach out to you on your email,
socials, phone. Hey, you can check out my new AI agent. It's taken me 18 months to build. You can get reminders. You can schedule appointments. You can ask the different options. Really cool. So I'm really proud of that. It took me 18 months to learn. So
nice, excellent. That sounds amazing. So there's your website. And how do we connect to your AI agents?
So basically, you just call and you tell it anything. You ask it anything, and it has been built with knowledge of tens of thousands of websites and words to be professional. Of course, I've made it towards All World Construction, so I have guardrails on it.
Yeah.
But really, it can trigger actions. If you make an appointment, it'll give you updates. It'll tell you where I am if I'm driving to you. It'll do all sorts of things. And it's really been saving me a lot of time. Yeah.
That's amazing. So great job. So not only you are a great contractor, but you are also a tech savvy engineer.
I do think there's we are busy helping customers in the field.
Yeah.
So I think that in order to give the best product to the person that we're standing in front of, to answer my call 4 times in the middle of a meeting isn't really appropriate.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give that phone call to someone who may not know as much. So it was kind of a void, a vacuum in the market that I'm able to fill. But,
right.
We could talk about that later.
Second session.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us. And audience, if you are trying to get a hold of us, we are in real estate, and we we help you buy or sell homes here in San Diego or anywhere in the US. If you're trying to get a hold of me, there's my phone number. If you're trying to get a hold of Santiago, there's his phone number. And you can also visit us at our website at pamberleyrealty.com. We also love to be on social media, just like Austin mentioned. There is our handle on Instagram. There's our handle on Facebook. And again, thank you for watching. And if you are watching us on YouTube, Santi, what do you want them to do?
Thumbs up and subscribe so you guys can see the, our upcoming guests and, great speakers like Austin did today. So we do these, twice a week. So you guys got to join in and subscribe.
Thank you so much, Austin, and make it a great day.
Thanks
We'll
for
see
having
you soon.
me. Bye.
Thank you.